Hey everybody, welcome to the first edition of Drive-Through Review. My hope is to take a game that's flown under the radar or doesn't have a video about it or possibly offer a little bit different perspective on a game. Go through and give you sort of a brief overview of the gameplay, and I'll try not to be too long-winded about it. Um, and just kind of give you sort of my thoughts about the game when I'm done. The first game I'm reviewing, as you can tell from the intro sequence, is Onirim or Onirim, and somebody on the Geek called it Inception the game, and I thought that was pretty apt because the idea is that you have a deck of cards and you're going through it, and that's sort of your dream. And the idea is that you're trapped in this dream, not unlike Inception the movie, and you've got to unlock it with various keys and symbols to get out of the dream before the nightmares get you. And so I thought that was a pretty apt description of the game. Might be interesting to see an Inception themed game, although I wouldn't really want to see it. The artwork's kind of nice in this game. A lot of people they have different opinions, but I like it. I think it fits. So I'm going to show you the little bit of the gameplay, and then we'll come back to my talking head here, and I'll give you a little bit of my perspective on it. Okay, so here is a basic run through of the game. So you've got your deck. Let's move these out of the way. We don't need those yet. So you got your deck. All the cards come in this one deck for the base game. You've got a number of different kinds of cards. You got doors, 4 different colors. You got blue, brown, green, and there's red. You've got nightmares, very bad. You're going to say, as some people like to say, many bad words when you draw these. I do. And then you've got your sort of, let's call these the action cards. These are the cards you actually use and play and do something with. So you've got the 4 different colors that match the 4 colors of the doors. You got different symbols. So there's a sun, a moon, and a key. So there's 3 symbols, 4 colors. So on your turn, you'll start with 5 cards, and you'll play a card here, and then you'll draw a card. Oh, nightmare. Let's pretend we didn't draw that right now. Okay, we drew another card. So, and then you'll play them here. So here you can see I played a blue sun. So what I want to do is get 3 blues in a row. When I get 3 blues in a row, then I'm allowed to search through the deck, find a blue door, dig it out, and set it aside. Now there's 2 of each color door. So there's 8 doors in total, 2 of each color. So once I do that, I get the blue card out, reshuffle, and then draw back up to 5. You always play a card, draw back up to 5. So the trick with playing 3 colors in a row, though, is you cannot play the same symbol touching each other. So if I had a blue there, let's say let's start with brown. I've got some browns in my hand. So I got a brown sun. If I had another brown sun, well, that's not legal because I've got 2 suns touching each other. It doesn't matter the color. If I wanted to put a blue sun there for some reason, then that's not legal. So you have to alternate symbols. So I'll play a brown sun, draw a card. Then I'll play a brown moon, draw up to 5. And now you can see I've got a brown key and another brown moon. Now I want to play a brown sun. I want to play the brown sun because the keys are more powerful. So if you think of it as there's a lot more suns and there's a little bit less moons and there's quite a few less keys. Now the suns and moons don't do anything, but there are less moons than suns. So moons are a little bit more powerful in that sense, as you know, there's just not as many. So you want to keep them because you've got to alternate symbols. And once you get a moon in your hand, there's a lot less chance you're going to draw another one. Not a lot less, but it's less. But these keys can do a couple of other things. So let's keep the key for now. So I'll put the brown one down, dig up my brown card here, put it back in, and reshuffle. Now there is a lot of reshuffling in this game because you're constantly putting cards down and reshuffling. When you draw these nightmares, there's some reshuffling involved. When you play the keys for their ability, quote unquote, there's shuffling. So if you don't like to shuffle, then don't get this game. But I've found very unique and shortcut ways to shuffle from playing this game. And I don't feel that I've lost the integrity of the game by doing so. Anyway, Okay, so that's the basics of the game. Try to get 3 in a row, different symbols, pull your doors. Once you pull all 8 doors, you win. If you go through the deck without getting 8 doors by the time you go through the deck, you lose. Okay, so what do the keys do? What makes the keys so special? Well, the keys are nice because they are, you can use them here if you want to alternate symbols. The other thing that a key can do is you can actually discard a key to your discard pile, and then you're going to go through and look at the next 5 cards. And then you can put them back in any order. Let's say I drew one of these. So I can say, oh, look, there's 3 greens here. I've got a moon, a sun, and a key. That's great. I'll put those on top, and I'll stick this nightmare on the bottom. But what else does a key do? When you draw 5 cards, you must discard one of the cards that you drew. Thankfully, I drew a nightmare, so that little pesky guy goes away. Now, if I didn't, I'd have to figure out which one of these was least important to me and then get rid of that. But now you can see I reordered these, so now I've got a chance, and I know when I put these back, as I start playing cards in my hand, I'm safe for a little while because I know there's not going to be any nightmares coming up. So the keys are very powerful, and that's the very best way to use the keys. The keys do something else for you. If, let's say I played a card, and then I go to draw a card, oh crap, I drew a nightmare. Well, the nightmare triggers a couple of actions that you, pretty simple, but you just got to get it in your head what they do. So the first thing that I can do is actually take a key and discard the key along with the nightmare, and then I'm okay. But I've lost the key. So it's kind of a little tricky balance between, do I want to save the key? Should I use the key to get, go and dig? That's always better, is to go and dig. Because then hopefully, I always hope to find a nightmare when I go and dig, so then I know I can destroy it and I can reorder the cards. Or if there's 2 nightmares, toss one and then put the one at the bottom. I'm sorry. The next thing is, so let's say I draw a nightmare. I don't have a key in my hand, or I don't want to use a key. Let's say, what do? I can do a couple of things. First thing is I can discard the nightmare along with my entire hand and draw 5 cards. And in that case, if you draw any doors or nightmares, you just kind of set them off to the side once you get up to 5 of these useful cards. Then you shuffle them back in. Again, more shuffling. And then you've got your new hand of 5 cards. So I've got these here. I drew these 5 cards. Let's pretend I drew these out in that process. I just shuffle them back in here, reshuffle the deck a couple times, and then start again. So that's one thing that you can do. You get to choose now if you get the nightmare. So I can do that, or say I played that, I get a nightmare and I go, I don't want to get rid of this hand because I've got a key here and I've got some different colors that are going to be useful. I can make a play with them. But then you can just discard the nightmare, set this aside, go through here and look up the next 5 cards. So I got the next 5 cards, and then guess what I got to do? I got to throw them away. Not fun, because these could have been useful cards that you were going to use. And if you pulled a door or even a nightmare, you can't throw those away. You've got to shuffle them back in. They go into what's called a limbo area. You just basically set them aside until the end of the turn and then play them back in here. So that's a less optimal way of doing things. Especially as you get down to the bottom of the deck. Drawing nightmares at any point towards the end of the game is very bad. The third thing that you can do is, I already told you about that. So yeah, if you get it, you can discard it with a key. Once you lose the key. So that's pretty much the game. And there's a certain number of nightmares. There's a little bit less of, I believe, the brown cards are less than the blue cards, which are less than the green cards, which are less than the red cards. So there's more red cards than the other cards. So that kind of comes into play as you are, playing the game and you get more familiar with it. It's not really a card counting game, but it's more of a gut feel. I don't sit there and riffle through and count cards. That's boring. But it is kind of fun because it does get intense, especially when you get to the bottom. You get down to this many cards. You've got 6 or 7 doors out. You just need that 1 or 2. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I think there's still a lot of nightmares in here, and it's pretty fun. And the expansions that actually come with the game really enhance the play. And I will show you just a quick setup of the expansions here in a second. Okay, before I get into the expansion, I did forget one thing. I knew I was going to forget it. The keys actually do a whole another thing that it can do for you, and it might seem really good at first, and it adds a lot to the tension of what to do with the keys, which is really what I like about this game. So let's say I've got this. This is my hand. You can see I've got a brown key, some other cards, and then I play a card, and I draw a door. Well, typically I'd set it aside and shuffle it back in at the end of the turn. But if I've got a key of the same color, I can take the key, discard it, and then capture that door immediately. So that's another thing that the keys can do, which I forgot to mention.